Welcome to World Martial Arts Jacks. Today we're going to go over a couple techniques. Mostly they are basic techniques, but if you look through many jiu-jitsu books, such as Hoist Gracie, Enzo Gracie, you see these over and over and over again, and the reason is they're tried and true. They might be basic, but they most definitely work. And what we're going to do is we're going to chain them together a little bit from the closed guard. We're going to start out on the closed guard here. He's going to maintain good posture. Got his hands on my hips, okay? Now generally, the first signal, of course, for a Kimura is when his hand hits the mat. Now, that's good in the very beginning. Someone like Ellis, though, he knows what he's doing. He's not just gonna place his hand on the mat. So, if you're from a wrestling background, you might recognize the name chicken wing. Well, the reason we call it chicken wing is because if you look at the bend in his elbow here, see, he kind of looks like a chicken wing. So, his arm does not necessarily have to be on the mat for me to be able to get this chicken wing here, which will facilitate me getting the Kimura. What I like to do is I like to use my hips. I don't want to just grab onto his wrist and start prying. If I concentrate here, then he's going to concentrate there, and again, it's going to be a muscle issue, and this is more about technique. So what I can do is I can place a hand here, and I can place a hand here at the same time, and I'm going to use my hips to bump him forward. Okay, that helps his hands to hit the mat again, or his head is just going to hit the mat. He's got to catch himself somehow. So I like to pull my hips either to the left or to the right. I'm not going to pull him straight into me so he headbutts me. So grab both wrists. He's not sure which way I'm going to go. I'm going to lift my hips across my left shoulder. He goes this way. Now as he comes to sit up, I'm going to sit up with him. I want his shoulder right at my chest. I'm going to reach through. If I can't grab my arm, then I'm going to grab his. Okay? So that I can readjust my position. I don't want him just pulling his arm out. Also, I'm nice and tight here so he can't lock his hands. If I'm real low down here, he can feed his hands either around me and lock them, or he can go in front of my stomach and lock them really easy too. Okay? So I want to stay nice and tight and try to keep this tight so he can't just reach around and lock his hands immediately. From here, after I pull it in tight, I can again reach through and adjust and grab my own wrist. Now here's the beauty of this, is my guard is still locked. I have not lost anything from here, and I've got this pretty secure. I'm gonna turn to my right and keep a nice tight bite on his back. Here and here. Personally, what I like to do is I like to use my left hook down here with my rear foot. Watch, as I turn here, I like to take this foot and hook here, which really interferes in his balance and in his base. Here, I'm going to keep everything nice and tight. I'm going to lift this wrist like it's going towards his ear, keeping this closed. I'm not going to go up here. He's got too much range of motion. Keep it nice and tight. Push it towards his ear till you get the tap. There. One more time. We're here. I'm not just going to concentrate on one wrist. Go to both, and I'm going to lift him over my shoulder with my hips. When he comes up, I come up with it. Isolate his wrist, or go straight to my wrist, keep it tight. Shifting my hip and getting a good bite on his back, pushing my heel to the mat here. Hooking here to take away his base. Everything is still very tight. Now I'm going to push his wrist towards his ear for the tap. Okay. Basic Kimura from the guard. Now we're going to continue from that. What he's going to do is he's going to work for me to not get the Kimura. I'm going to work off of his counter. We're going to start the same way. Here, I come up, and he pushes me in. He's pushing me down. I can't quite get my guard back, but at the same time, I don't quite have the Kimura. So instead of just struggling and using all types of strength, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my left shoulder in nice and deep. Plant this foot on the mat, turn, and make sure I have this. Lift my hips. Notice I'm posted on my elbow. Do not put your elbow behind you. Here, he's going to reach around and grab it. Okay? And he can also pull your arm behind your back. Post it out here where he can't grab it. Got this nice and tight. I'm going to lift my hips and dive my shoulder to the mat for the Kimura sweep. Same basic Kimura. Up, when he comes up, I go, but he kind of shuts me down. Can't quite get back to my same position. Gonna dive my shoulder in, get a nice good grip, post on my elbow, make sure my elbow's not behind me where he can grab it, lifting with my hips, and diving my left shoulder to the mat. I'm gonna do a Kimura sweep. Here. So we have the Kimura. He tries to shut it down, we go to the Kimura sweep. Now we're gonna see what happens when he also shuts down the Kimura sweep, because we're gonna chain these together. I go for the Kimura. Oh, he shuts me down. I go here. I can't quite get the Kimura sweep. One thing that helps him for me to not get the Kimura sweep is he's heading into me. He's pushing his ear into me, which is driving me into the mat. I can't quite get this dip in my shoulder. When I feel his head digging in, keeping my knees tight together, I'm gonna backswing for the guillotine. Nice and deep. As I come back, I'm locking my guard here, locking my hands. Can't see underneath, but right now I have a gable grip. Going to dip my shoulder and stretch my hip for the tap. So we have number 1, Kimura. Number 2, Kimura sweep. When he counters that, we go to number 3, which is the guillotine. One more time with the guillotine. We're here. We're here. Oh, he shuts me down. I can't sweep him. But the reason is, I feel his head pushing into me. When I feel that, his chin's exposed. I'm here, back swim. I'm blading right underneath his chin to his neck. Now I come back, lock the guard, lock my hands. I'm dipping my shoulder and stretching my hips out with a tap. Last part of the series. He defends the guillotine. He defends the Kimura, defends the Kimura sweep, then he defends the guillotine. What's one of my last options? It's going to be a neck crank. We're here. Kimura fails. Sweep fails. I feel his head coming into me, but as I come around, he tucks his chin. But when he tucks his chin, I go underneath his arm. Here. A little bit slower on this part. Here, my knees are in tight so he doesn't pass. As I swim back, he tucks his chin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath his arm now. Recover my guard. I'm shifting my hips to the side over here, taking a nice tight grip, pulling him to me, and then dipping my shoulder and stretching him out with a tap. Again, from the beginning. 4 parts to this series. Number 1. Number 2. Can't get the sweep. Knees in, nice and tight. I go for the guillotine. He tucks his chin. I go directly under his armpit. My hand is still bladed. As I come back, I'll lock my feet, lock my hands, shift my hips to the side so his head is very deep in my armpit. Head in, pull, and stretch him out. There. Notice I'm dipping my shoulder. That's a quick series that works very, very well from your back in the closed guard. Again, you have your standard Kimura from closed guard, transitioning straight into a Kimura sweep, then going to a guillotine, then to a neck crank. There's also a sweep from that neck crank, and you can keep doing chain moves from there. But again, this is a very good series to work on your back. And what I recommend is doing it rapid fire, to the left, then to the right, then to the left, then to the right, so that your opponent doesn't have a whole lot of time to think about passing your guard because he's fighting off your offense, which also opens up more and more sweeps. Thank you.